Welcome, 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 and happy Sunday again. I'm Crystal L. Gunn, founder and CEO of the Amazing Woman Network, which was created to empower and unite Black women globally under our pillars of reclaiming personal power, mind, body, and spirit, reclaiming financial power, and increasing our social involvement. We strive to inspire every Black woman to own, honor, and execute her amazing individually and collectively as it was established at birth. I'm also a financial strategist and a life insurance agent. So today's event has me all in my feelings, right? So for a couple reasons. Financial empowerment, if you know me, that is my jam. And it has been, and I go hard in the paint for financially educating and empowering my community. And back in 2016 with the Amazing Woman Network, I wanted to create a burial fund, like nothing major, just a burial fund that the family of AWN members could tap into if they needed it. Well, that fund was never established. But in a full circle moment, to now be able to offer the products that will be presented to you today is, of course, absolutely amazing, right? So, these products that are needed by our community badly, right? And now members, the family, the friends, the co-workers, and community of our members can all take part in these products. Again, it's absolutely amazing. So before I bring on the man of the hour, right, who is the brainchild behind these products, I have a question. Have you in your lifetime witnessed someone needing long-term care, be it in a facility or at home? And could you see the strain, the physical, mental, emotional, and financial strain on the person who needed the care and the caregivers and the extended family? If you answer yes, then hold on to that answer and watch and listen to this presentation. And again, take notes. Drop your questions in the comments if you have them as we go through this presentation. And I want to now turn it over to Mr. Gerald L. Scruggs Sr. Come on off mute and introduce yourself, Gerald, and then we can key up this presentation.
All righty. Thank you, Crystal. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for having me. And thank you for partnering with me on this national initiative, which we have undertaken and trying to spread the word nationwide and do all we can to help our people, everybody, but of course, especially our people, maintain their quality of life and potentially save themselves from financial ruin. And we'll explain how and why that is. This whole thing came about as a situation I lived personally. My mother-in-law, I mean, not my mother-in-law, my mother, some years ago, geez, about 34 years ago, was diagnosed with cancer. And my dad had just retired. My father had Blue Cross Master Medical, which at that time was the top of the line insurance that was out there. And even in spite of that, by the time my mother was diagnosed to passing, dad had came out of his pocket with somewhere around $75,000. That was in spite of having full time, top of the line, couldn't get any better insurance. And I know that number is very true because I helped dad write the checks to pay those out of pocket expenses. And there were some situations, treatments my mother needed, and if you didn't have all the money, she wasn't going to be able to get the treatment. So obviously my dad, thank God, dad was a prolific saver, not necessarily an investor, but a saver. And dad had the money, but still several things happened. Even when he had the money, the resources, thank God, it still, now, if you're talking about creating generational wealth, it depleted what would have been something inheritance to pass on to my sister and I, which, was secondary, but it's still the same token, trying to emulate our European brothers and sisters who've been very successful at being able to pass on, generate to help the next generation. And so what we've done, we've come across these things here, situations that being in the insurance industry, we have seen a serious need, and then we became, after doing more research, we found a national need for this, that there's a crisis going on in America. And that is the crisis of healthcare disparity in America among minorities, especially African Americans. And there's a lot of ramifications, which I'm going to show you. So I'm going to get into that right now. All right, come on, get out of the way. Bear with me here. Okay. Again, first of all, we just call this a national initiative because what we're doing, we're reaching out to people nationwide to address the crisis, and I say crisis, of healthcare disparity in America among minorities, especially African Americans. It is scriptural, where it is written in the book of Hosea, 4th chapter, 6th verse. My people are destroyed, and the King James Version says perish for lack of knowledge. Not because they didn't have enough red bottom shoes or $5,000 Louis Vuitton purses, but for lack of knowledge. Unfortunately, history has shown too many times on different levels and different situations where, as a community, for whatever reason, we seem to be kind of at the back of the line when information is disseminated, and time we get it, for some people, it's too late. I look at the case again, being in the insurance industry, where we've seen some of our people don't get diagnosed and get treated until they're at stage 4 cancer. Now they're at the point of past no return, whereas if they'd have caught that in the early stages, they could have been treated, could have been rehabilitated, and lived long, fruitful lives. But again, unfortunately, that's something that has happened either because they weren't aware or they didn't have the resources. This is from the American Cancer Society. Most of the information you see is not something we made up. This is from the source of the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association and the American Diabetes Association. Okay, in 2023, 153 million, that's 153 million lives were affected by cancer. When we say affected, we're talking about people who had either passed from cancer, they were diagnosed with cancer and currently are being treated for it, or they may be cancer survivors, or we like to call them champions if you are a survivor, or you were a caregiver. And we have found there's studies that show and prove, and plus my wife a couple years, a year and a half ago, went to a seminar and got some information from family law attorneys dealing with family care. And they told us that the stress level on the caregiver is as bad as the stress level that's on the person being treated. And there's been some cases where the people who were the caregiver would pass before the person that they were taking care of, simply from the stress of taking care of their loved one. And obviously they want to do the best they can, but unfortunately it's like a drowning person. I swim out to drown, save somebody from drowning, and unfortunately I end up drowning in the process. Okay. And of course they said there's 18 million cancer survivors today. Keep moving this thing around here. According to the American Heart Association, the American Cancer Society, and the American Diabetes Association, the top 4 leading causes of death in the African American, Latino, Hispanic, Asian American, and the Native American communities are heart disease, cancer, stroke, and diabetes. Diabetes, the major complication from that is kidney failure. And again, this is the leading cause of death in all 4 of our communities. So again, when we say healthcare disparity among minorities, it's not just us, but unfortunately, sadly to say, we happen to be the leading candidate or victim, almost you could say, in all of these particular areas. Cancer, they say, is a disease that affects everyone, but not necessarily equally. Studies indicate that Black Americans have the highest death rate and the shortest survival rate of any racial and ethnic group in the United States for just about all cancers. And again, this is from the American Cancer Society. And yes, you can go look it up, and everything we have studied, we fact checked it, and it's been verified by several major sources. According to American Cancer Society, again, breast cancer for African American women is the highest again. Now, at the time we got this information, it was dated April of 2021. At that time, they stated that 41% African American women were diagnosed at a 41% higher rate for breast cancer than white women. Now, again, that was 2021. And even then they said again, which means this wasn't the first time it happened. Just 3 weeks ago, I saw on Good Morning America, they had an article on there, a feature article being posted, and one of the top speakers was one of the top leading, I think it was John Hopkins Medical Association, and they were saying that African American women now is 55% higher diagnosis rate than white women with breast cancer. And again, when we're talking about breast cancer, yes, men get it also, although it's most notably women. But when we talk about this, we're talking about our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, our nieces, our daughters, our granddaughters, and the friends of these same people of our friends. And again, this is a sad thing. And again, unfortunately, the Black women have the shortest survival rate of all subtypes of cancer. So again, we answer the question, why is that? Understanding cancer disparities. A healthcare disparity is when the quality of healthcare differs between people because of discrimination based on age, disability status, geography, income, race or ethnicity, gender identity, and health insurance coverage. So what they're saying is even if you have health insurance coverage, what level of health insurance coverage, and even if you have the best, there still needs to be there's still some gaps and holes in that coverage that will be left undone. And that's going to be proven coming up. Healthcare disparities can affect every step of cancer care, from prevention screening to the quality of life after cancer, which means disparity in care can affect who develops it and who dies from it. So again, there are people who got it and were cured. Why? Because maybe they had access to the resources to get the best quality care they could. Some of them because maybe that insurance didn't cover it, but that's okay. They had the money or some resource to be able to pay for that out-of-pocket expenses versus somebody over here who I had health insurance, but my health insurance only covers so much, and I did not have that extra resource to cover that out of pocket. And if I didn't have it, I couldn't get the treatment. So what happens? We've just shortened either your length of life, or we've greatly lessened the quality of your life for however many days you had. And also it determines who dies from cancer. From the American Heart Association, heart disease, the #1 killer worldwide, and stroke ranks second globally. And even when those conditions don't result in death, they usually cause disability and greatly diminish quality of life. And again, Crystal can attest to this as well as myself, being in the insurance industry for 25 years. I have plenty of clients who I thank God they had got a disability. I was able to help them get that, and they had it. They recovered some, but they still were not totally that they did not pass. But thank God they at least had a disability plan which paid them a certain amount of money to maintain their household until either Social Security could kick in or they were able to get themselves better and go back to work. But again, what happens when you don't have those resources? And again, even if you live, to diminish the quality of life that you may have. The 7-day, this is again from American Heart Association, 7 deadliest diseases in the Black community. Diabetes. We have a 60% higher diagnosis rate in Blacks as opposed to whites. And of course, the most serious complications that usually result from diabetes, loss of vision, loss of limbs, and kidney failure. And kidney failure is the #1 complication from diabetes. This is what makes that thing so bad. You know, we look at it and tend to think, oh, it's not that bad. Well, I know a couple people who have lost their limbs. One person who's gone blind. Okay. Asthma, nothing to play with. Sarcoidosis, this is a scarring of the lungs. In fact, this is what killed Bernie Mac. And for those who are familiar with football, Reggie White, NFL Hall of Fame football player who was in tip-top condition, one of the best in his field. I think he was like 50 or 52. He died from this disease. Lung cancer, again, another type of cancer. Stroke. Stroke kills 4 times more 35 to 54-year-old Black Americans than it does white Americans. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're talking about people 60, 70, 80 years old. We're talking 35 years old, perfectly healthy. That can happen to you. Oops, go back. Oh, go back, go back, go back, go back. Sorry, y'all. Here we go. Oh, come on. Sorry about that. Okay. High blood pressure. I mean, heart disease. #1 risk factor, high blood pressure. It's a risk. It's the major factor that affects heart disease, and African American individuals are more severely affected more severely than whites. And according to the American Heart Association, African Americans have the highest rate of high blood pressure globally. We're not talking about the east side or the west side of Detroit. We're not talking about just Detroit, Wayne County, Oakland County, or Michigan. We're not even talking about the United States. Globally, with about 40% and 60% of women, 40% of adults and 50% of women are more likely to have it compared to non-Hispanics. And of course, the number one in our community, cancer. We have the highest rates of cancer, bless you, and dying from many types of cancer again than any other racial or ethnic group. And honorable mention, sickle cell anemia. It doesn't get a lot of attention, but I used to work with a guy who had sickle cell. Great guy, but unfortunately couldn't come to work, and I learned about it because what happened, for those who don't know, the blood cells are shaped like a sickle, which is like a half moon crescent shape. And I first found out about this years ago, back in my 20s. I had a blood test and found out I have the trait. Now, it doesn't affect me, but if two people who have the trait get married and have a baby, there's a 99% chance the child is going to develop full-blown sickle cell anemia. And what this does, these are cells that are corrupted, and it doesn't allow the blood, it depletes the oxygen in your blood, which is what cells need to build up your immune system. And without that, unfortunately, you're very susceptible to any and all kinds of infections. Oh, take a wild guess. The number one cause of bankruptcy in America in 2023, 2 million people filed for bankruptcy. 70% of those, 1.4 million, was for medical bills. And 75% of these people had full-blown, full-time, year-round health insurance. And again, some sidebar statistics: 56 million adults, over 20% of America aged 19 to 64, will struggle with healthcare related bills. Nearly 10 million adults with year-round health insurance will still accumulate unpaid medical bills. In fact, we saw one study report that said we'll have trouble paying for their bills in the same year. Over 11 million people will take on additional credit card debt. So what happens if you have the bills, your savings starts getting depleted? Well, now you start turning to credit cards. Then what happens? You end up maxing out all the credit cards, and boom, you end up filing bankruptcy. Whoops, go back. And 15 million people will deplete their savings. 10 million people will be unable to afford essentials like rent, food, utilities. And why? Because of medical bills. And I do have a family member I know who I witnessed them sitting at the kitchen table, cutting medication in half because they had to make a choice between food and medication, because they had both retired. Unfortunately, had nothing but Social Security. So therefore, what happens was, when the time they needed the medicine, they were making choices every month, and it's not a pretty sight. Now, that's all the problem. Those are the reasons why. That's the proof. That's the evidence. That's the information. Then we have to ask ourselves, what can be done about it? Well, this is not exactly the silver bullet, but we like to think of it as the secret sauce. There is help that can be done to do this, and I've seen this with some people I know who have several of these policies and been in these family situations. We have been able to negotiate with a major insurance carrier, Allstate. I checked with 10 of the top insurance carriers, some rated in the world, not to mention the United States. I went through a long list and found two who would do what I asked them to do. And we were able to negotiate guaranteed issue with absolutely no health questions, life insurance policy with long-term care. Now, some people might say, well, I already got life insurance. Well, but I'll ask the question, do you have long-term care? In the African American community, less than 3% of us have none. Now, some people might say, well, I make 200,000, I don't need it. Yes, you do. It still will be more than what is tapped, because if you don't have a bucket of money set aside specifically for that purpose, guess what? Time something happens, nobody plans an accident or a sickness. You go to use that money could be gone. And these policies are two separate policies joined together. And again, I use the situation like my mother. When she had cancer, my mother was in a long-term care situation. They did not have it, but thank God my dad had the resources. But again, we have to think about what about the people who did not have those resources? What would they do? Would they have lived as long as my mother did, which is about a year and a half, had they not had the resources to get that treatment? And I can almost guarantee you the answer probably would have been no. Uh, and then we're talking about a long-term care policy. That's what it does. And I think about my mother-in-law, God bless her. She, for about 9 months, was debilitated. And that was a long-term care situation where she was completely bedridden. And unfortunately, we did not have it, but we had the finances, but that only lasted so long. And then she ended up in a long-term care situation, but thank God we had the resources. But again, I have to ask the question, what about the people who don't have that? Then there's a guaranteed issue cancer policy, which has about 49 benefits, which I'm going to show you. First and foremost, that it pays you a lump sum of $10,000 in the event if you're diagnosed. Plus, it covers basically everything that a person may encounter in the event if you are diagnosed. And lastly, a guaranteed issue, no health questions, critical illness plan, which is a plan that pays you a lump sum of $20,000 in the event of a heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, which again helps with the diabetes. Remember, it's a direct result of diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, loss of sight, hearing, ability to speak, or if you're paralyzed, pays you lump sum amounts of money. And the big thing about this, what makes this so important is guaranteed issue. That means no health questions whatsoever, because many of us may know, certainly those who are on this call who are in insurance business know, there are some people, many people who wanted life insurance or a long-term care policy and may have had the money to afford it. But guess what? They couldn't pass the health question. They couldn't qualify because of some major illness they may have had recently or something that's in their family history. Because some insurance companies
No,
go
yeah,
back
they
quite a
give you
while.
the option now.
Okay. And so what we've done, we have
recording.
That's recording.
Yeah, you got put.
Keith, can you mute yourself, please? And so we have overcome the obstacle of the barrier to people who want and need that thing by getting the insurance company to agree to waive any and all health questions so everybody qualifies. This is akin to and equal to those who are familiar with President Obama's greatest accomplishment was passing the Affordable Care Act, or some people know it as Obamacare, where he brought health care to 34 million people who did not have health insurance, and half of those people would not qualify. We're talking 17 million people normally would not qualify because of the pre-existing conditions. And when I saw that segment on Good Morning America 3 weeks ago, one thing the doctor mentioned, he said 70%, that's 70, of Americans have at least one pre-existing condition. And all it takes is one of the wrong kind. And guess what? You cannot get any of these policies. Okay. But again, we have eliminated that altogether. So now we've made it possible for anybody and everybody to be able to have access and resource to these resources. First, again, is underwritten by Allstate, is the whole life policy, which again is good up to age 121. And it comes again with the long-term care benefit. So let's say somebody purchased, say, $75,000 worth of coverage. That means you have $75,000 worth of life insurance, and you also have $75,000 worth of long-term care benefit. And again, I look at somebody I know recently who was in a facility, had a family member facility. That cost was $6,500 a month. Now, that's not the top of the line, it's not the bottom, but usually a decent facility starts about 5,000, but usually they run somewhere a real extreme is $8,000 to $10,000. So if you had $75,000, God bless you, at 6,000 a year, that can cover a person for at least 10, 11 months. But usually when somebody's in that type of facility, that's not somebody who's usually there for multiple years. So hopefully it will reduce the anxiety and financial despair and crunch that some family member may experience, excuse me. Next is the cancer policy. As we said, that first and foremost, you have the initial diagnosis benefit, a lump sum of $10,000 if you diagnose. Also, in the event if you're hospitalized, get paid $400 a day. Private nursing service, $400 a day. Extended care nursing still, $400 a day. If a nurse comes to your home daily, $400 per day. Radiation and chemo, $10,000 in a calendar year. Medical imaging, like if you need an MRI, CAT scan, PT scan, $500. If you have surgery, $4,500. And I think of my mother, she had 6 surgeries in a year and a half, and dad's insurance covered, I think, 95% of that. And these surgeries were averaging about $100,000 per. So that's still $5,000 per times 6. That's 30 grand out of his pocket. Where if he had this policy, dad wouldn't have had to pay anything. If you get a second opinion, they will pay you $600. Bone marrow transplant recipient, $3,700. Even when you go to your doctor, they pay you $50 every time you go to your doctor in between treatments. Also, there's a travel benefit. If you travel more than 50 miles from your home to a treatment facility, they pay you up to $400 round trip fare for you and a companion. Plus, you get paid a lodging benefit of $50 per night. If you need physical therapy, you get paid $50 per treatment. Experimental treatment, which most insurances don't cover, or they cover barely half, well, they'll pay you $5,000 per. And again, we want to really highlight is right off the bat, the initial diagnosis benefit. This means the very first thing that happens, heaven forbid you go to the doctor and they diagnose, you get back the blood report, pathology report that says you have cancer, turn that into the insurance company immediately. You get a check for $10,000. So this way you can concentrate on getting well as opposed to worrying about how in the heck am I going to make the house note, the rent, car note, lights, gas, food, kids need this, children need that, car expenses. Also, on the cancer policy, it has what's called the specified disease benefit. In addition to being paid for cancer, if somebody's hospitalized for any of these particular things, and it's 29 of them, I just took the most common, like muscular dystrophy, Lou Gehrig's, multiple sclerosis, rabies, tetanus, tuberculosis, scarlet fever, sickle cell anemia, hepatitis, lupus. If a person is hospitalized for lupus, you get paid for that, or cystic fibrosis, $400 per day. And lastly, we have the critical illness plan. This is the one we talked about before, that in the event if you have a heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, get out of the way, kidney failure, again, which comes from the diabetes, a major organ transplant, $20,000. Invasive cancer, $20,000. Also, the travel benefit comes with it. And then again, if you have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, coma, lost hearing, sight, ability to speak, you'll be paid $20,000 for that. And children are all is free. There's no charge for any children you may have, 25 and under. They will be covered up until age 26. And for those who think a child would not need this or the long-term care, think again, a child, how many children we know 18 years old playing sports or riding a skateboard? You slip, fall, break your neck. Guess what? That's a long-term care situation. And we're talking about, get this out the way, paralysis. It will be paid $20,000. And for those who think, oh, I can't afford this, well, let me just give you a little math. If you happen, first of all, if you're 18 to 29, you charge $1.04 a week times 52 divided by 12. That comes to $4.50 if you're 18 to 29 years old. A Happy Meal costs you $5. So even if you have a family, you're in your 20s, it's $1.56 a week times 52 divided by 12. We're talking for $6.76. If you have a family, you can cover all of them for all of these. And the price stays the same throughout the life of the plan. It does not change. And for those who may be in your 40s, if you're talking about $3.94 times 52, you're talking about $17 if you're in your 40s. And so again, it's affordable as can be. And the great thing about this, what makes it unprecedented, is the fact we were able to, again, bring this with no health questions to everybody and to reach the masses, which allowed us to negotiate the best price possible. And the no health questions condition is offered through associations, which is how Crystal and I met up, and we're talking to major organizations nationwide. And that concludes that.
Bravo, bravo. Thank you, Gerald. That was incredible information. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I definitely want to open up the floor if anybody has any questions about the benefits. We're going to talk about how you can get the benefits in 1 minute, but I do want to answer or have Gerald answer any questions about any of the policies that you may have. So you actually can come off mute or put your questions in the chat.
Well, let me ask a question to everybody here. You don't have to raise your hand, don't have to answer, but I just want you to internalize. Do you have anybody you know, family member or friends, who has passed from cancer? Do you know anybody who's ever been diagnosed and is currently being treated? Do you know anybody who's a cancer survivor? They were diagnosed with it and they went through the treatment and they got into remission. And a little known, well, it's not too little known, a fact that a lot of people don't know or trying to tend to overlook. Once you are diagnosed, even though you go into remission, there is a high probability. We're talking about 65 to 7% that the cancer will come back, not necessarily even the same form that you were originally diagnosed with. And again, the great thing about it, the policies don't pay just once. So in the case of cancer, that policy is good for life. The same thing with the long-term care. I think of again, if you were my mother, she was debilitated to the point it would have happened to her. You would be getting paid from the long-term care benefit and all of the benefits on the cancer policy. And again, I think of my mother-in-law, God bless her, who was debilitated for like 9 months of her life, the last 9 months of her life, and unfortunately, she did not have it. But thank God we had the resources. But unfortunately, we had to deplete all the resources. And again, we have to ask ourselves, what about those people who don't have it? And that's the thing we want to look at. We're not only that, we're talking to major organizations of people who are well making six figures, but when they start talking about long-term care, nobody raised their hand that they have it. They're like, I didn't think I needed it. Well, yeah, because even if you have a life policy, that's fine, but more traditional life policies pay in event if you pass. That doesn't help you if you get diagnosed with one of these major things we're talking about, and you're going to have medical bills. Because again, remember, medical insurance, health insurance does not cover everything. And your health insurance sole purpose is to pay the doctor in the hospital. All of our policies or supplemental policies, they pay the policy owner, which would be you.
Okay, so we do have some questions in the chat. I'm just gonna go down these questions and Gerald, you can ask them. The first one is it group only or individual as well?
No, individual. This is a group policy only because it's when they say group policy, they're talking about for the fact that we're offering this to a major association that has 1,000+ people, because that's what the insurance company looks at when they determine can we afford to offer without any type of health questions. So yes, you can cover yourself, any and all family members, everybody in your family tree, everybody you know, whether they're in California, New York, Texas, New York, North Dakota, South Dakota, everybody can be covered.
So let me ask a question since he asked about the group. Why? Because there are individual cancer policies that are out there. There are individual critical illness policies. There even are riders on on other type of policies. What's because this group, it makes it more affordable. I kind of want you to talk about that piece of it.
Okay, because see what happens, the way insurance companies work, there's a term called spreading the risk. Uh, just like one of our major groups we look at, they've got 50,000 members. Okay, so let's say a person signs up and then their policy is effective on the first of the month, and they happen to pass on the second of the month. The policy is 100% payable on the first day, on the first day of the policy effective date. The insurance company technically has lost money only because they have not acquired a premium from you, which insurance companies take our money and invest that to make more money. So what happened, technically, they lost money, but they don't sweat it because they've got 49,999 of the people that they go make it up on. The difference here also, besides the cost factor, they can bring the cost down, but the most important factor of this whole thing is the underwriting qualifications. That's just like even relative benefits on your job. There are some jobs that you may can get like they may give you a minimal a $10,000 life policy. But that's only because you're working for the company. And for those who have benefits like that on your job, some people say, "Well, I don't need it. My job got me covered." No, your job has you covered while you're working. If you quit, get fired, laid off, or retire, when you leave, it's like a uniform. It stays. Okay, so you no longer have coverage. Even with the big three, fact, what happened, what, 7, 8 years ago, over a 2 week period, my phone was blowing up from people I knew in Ford Motor Company, GM, and Chrysler. They were changing their plans. What happened, guys were retiring and they found out the little coverage they had on the spouses completely dropped off. These $50,000 policies the guy had, theirs was reducing down to 10. So they essentially had nothing. Because $10,000 we know won't even cover a funeral nowadays. Okay. But the big thing is you don't have to qualify. And also these policies, if you have like a critical illness that's a rider, some life policies have it as a rider. It might pay you a minimal $5,000. But again, that pays out one time and one time only. So what if you have a heart attack 8 months later or a year later, you now have a stroke? This plan pays out every single time, as long as it's separated by 6 months for each one of those. That's called a subsequent diagnosis.
So there's another question.
Mm-hmm.
Just to piggyback off of that thing, and I remember hearing you say this to someone before, where you may have a cancer policy through your job. You have it because you work at that job. What about the people that you know that may need this that don't work at that job? You can't offer that policy to them through your job. You can offer them and tell them about these policies because it's open through the Amazing Woman Network, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It has to be, and it's a simple thing. You look at like this. Think of if you wanted to purchase, stay with me, guys. I'm gonna go out here a little bit. Let's say you wanted a 50 to 100 roll pack of toilet tissue or paper towel. Can you go to Kroger and get that? All these? No. Where do you go? Sam's Club.
Oh, now you're breaking up, Gerald. Can't hear you at all. Nope. Nope. Say something else.
Hello, hello,
Okay.
hello.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay, I gotta raise mine. Okay, and let's say, for instance, in order to get this large 100 roll pack of paper towels, you can't get that just anywhere. Where would you go? Costco's or Sam's Club. How do you get in? You got to have a membership card. So they would just have to apply, not even have to apply. It's just a minimal $12 one-time fee to gain access to all of the benefits. And then now you're able to purchase the product. Whereas most companies, and I think back to my days of starting out with Colonial Life, where we had the Detroit Board of Education, DPS. Those people were only able to get it because that insurance company only sold their benefits to a payroll deducted W-2 situation. They would not allow those penalty policies elsewhere. Whereas us, we're allowing it to associations, which anybody can join, and therefore that we made it more accessible to everybody to reach. So everybody doesn't have to belong to a payroll deducted, a specialized job. In other words, they're not in that little narrow box. We've opened it up to everybody.
Okay. Notary Nance says I already have Aflac cancer policy at $18.85 a month. Can an individual have multiple policies?
Yes, you can. You can have as many policies as you can afford. Now, that term is called coordinating, which is a very common practice in health insurance. Let's say, for instance, you have two individuals, husband and wife. One of them has Blue Cross in their job, the other one's got HAP. If HAP found out that you're getting $500 from Blue Cross on that, they will reduce by that same amount. That's called coordinating. Standard practice in the health industry. There are some supplemental companies that do it. Our policies do not coordinate. So I'm not sure. I'm very familiar with Aflac's product. I was contracted with them. I got a ton of friends over there. I'm not sure what, because people, they change rules from every now and then. But you can have as many as you can afford. That's just like life insurance policies. You don't have to be restricted to just one. You can have as many as you can afford. Because I know a couple of people who's got like 7 of them.
Do other family members have to live in the same household?
No, anybody is there. You can have a family member, like I said, in Texas, North Dakota, California, Mississippi, Alabama, New York. Everybody nationwide.
But let's be clear, that other family member, friend, or community person that you know that you are referring to this, they have to sign up for their own policy. They
Yes,
are
they
not.
would just go on the site, and way it is, we have it set up. A national is a national enrollment firm that we have contracted as well. Somebody I know very well and known the people of it for 25 years, long as I've been in the industry. Their integrity is off the charts, and their intellectual capability is off the charts as well. Their skill set. And they're the ones who set up the enrollment platform. So you're eligible to enroll 24/7, 365 days a year. You can go on at any time of night. Maybe if somebody works afternoon, you get home at midnight, you can sit there. You just go to the website, Amazing Woman, click on the tab that says insurance. Then you just put in your information, name, address, phone number, social date of birth. And then you click on whatever product you want to, and you click to the amount, and it matches, shows you the price weighted rate. So you customize it to fit whatever is your need and your budget. And of course, you can cover spouse and children 25 and under, and you will put their information in. So I'm letting them know I'm purchasing the family plan. I want to be covered for, say, $50,000 worth of life insurance. I want the cancer policy, and I want that. Then you'll be canceled. After that, then you'll be transferred. A link comes up where you come to the third, what's called a third-party administrator, who now collects your payment information. There are multiple methods of payment. You can do a draft from your checking account, savings account, credit card, or debit card. And you can have the draft come out either once a week, a weekly, bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, or once a month. That's your choice. And you get to pick any day from Monday through Friday. So the great thing about this company we work with, who I've been dealing with them for 10 years, and they handle several accounts of mine, they're very good, is they can deduct it on the same day that everybody gets paid. So it simulates payroll deduction. So it minimizes the issue of, the deduction was taken on, was set for Tuesday, but Joe didn't save the money from last week, Friday. No, same day they get paid. So you get to pick and choose what day of the week, how often a week, and then from what source of funds you want to have the money taken.
Can you get a cancer policy if you already have had? Can you get a cancer policy if you have already had cancer?
Yes, that's the great thing about it. They waive pre-existing conditions, and there are no health questions, because standardly, like even through your job, and I know this from doing this myself several years, several companies, that usually the standard question on a cancer policy is, it used to be 10 years. Have you had cancer, been treated for cancer, or diagnosed within the last 10 years? If you answered yes, you would it was an automatic decline. That's what we call a knockout question. You were disqualified. You would have to wait from 10 years from the date of your very last treatment. So let's say your last chemo treatment was January 1 of this year. Now you got to wait till January 2nd of 2034 before you can get that policy. Now, a lot of companies, about 8, 9 years ago, they did narrow it down to 5 years, but I haven't found anybody less than 5. But you still have to if you've been treated within 5 years, you would be ineligible, even if it's through your job. But that's the great thing about ours. No health questions. Everybody's accepted.
Does the insured need to join the group? I'm going to show you when we get to the end of this how you can go and what you need to do today to get the insurance. I have a grandmother that is 94. Does she qualify? Let's talk about age, Gerald.
Okay. As far as the cancer plan and the critical, yes, the cancer plan has not have any age. That's not one of the dynamics for qualification. As you saw, there was an age band on the critical illness. The last one was said 65 plus. So there is no age. But as far as the life insurance with the long-term care, the maximum guaranteed issue amount is 80,000 up to and including age 70. If you are 71 to 80, there's just, I think, 3 questions you have to answer. I do believe it's like in the last 24 months, have you had a heart attack, stroke, cancer, or kidney failure? So as long as you had one of those major dynamics, if you're 71 to 80, but 80 is the maximum issue age for the life insurance with the long-term care. but anybody 70 and under, you're automatically guaranteed with no health questions up to $80,000.
Can this be offered as an employee benefit?
Yes, it can. Now, the only thing is what allows us to get the rates we have and the condition of it being guaranteed issue is the fact through the association, we have, again, that term spreading the risk. We have a number of individuals. This can be an employee benefit, but not if you're talking about, say, a 5, 10, 25, even 100 person or less group. You would have to be talking about at least 250 employees. And then we would still have to go back. They may or may not put a condition on it. You'd have to have so many people sign up. So even if, like, say, if it's 250, it's called PEGI, Post Enrollment Guaranteed Issue, where you have to, they may say 25 to 35% of the people must sign up. So they got to have a certain amount of people to verify, to justify the risk of offering it. That's the only little dynamic about when it's employee benefit.
But remember what we talked about earlier, how your friends, your family, your community. So Deborah, when you talk about an employee benefit, can it still be an employee benefit that you can put as a benefit? Yes, they would just be signing up through the Amazing Woman Network because they are your extended friends.
Right, basically point to point. Yeah, and I'm sorry I forgot to see that because
No, okay.
let's say you are a business owner and you have employees. You can offer the benefit for your employees, but you just sign up. Everybody would come under the Amazing Woman Network because, see, we're talking about now you're joining a group or let's say a pool of 10,000 plus people. So now the insurance companies feel safe offering it, and you would just be offering it individually. Everybody would sign up. And also, as the business owner, it alleviates the fact, the pressures from your HR person to have to reconcile a bill and be deducting money out of your people's paycheck and then sending it into the insurance company.
What information is needed from each individual and applicant?
Name, address, phone number, social, date of birth.
And then once you pick your policy's method of payment, and then
right, and then that's the first thing you do is when you go in is your profiling because we have to have that in order to calculate the price. Then, like I said, if you have a spouse, you have children, then you put them in. So now the computer, and you click it, and it'll give you the option to say, do I want to cover my children? Then it'll tell you what the price. Then you might say, no, little Ray Ray and Shaquita, I ain't covering them. Okay, you unclick them, and it takes them off.
So on that, let's be clear, right? So again, have to say this again because I know somebody's thinking it, but I have or have had some other condition. There's no health questions asked, so that's never going to come up. That's why it's guaranteed issue. The second thing I want you to understand is because you said putting in that name, address, date of birth, that age is where the calculating of the premium,
correct,
right, starts. And then,
and again, that's on the life insurance with the long-term care and the critical illness. Cancer is best based on your family status.
Okay. What's the name of the national enrollment company?
TBX. T is in Tom, B is in boy, X. TBX enrollment benefits.
So someone says, I have combined insurance, and this, and is this similar? If so, I would like, if so, I would like to cancel and move forward with this service. What makes you different from other companies?
There are several answers I can give you on that combined. I used to be an agent with them. And again, I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm gonna just state facts. I like to always think that whoever I deal with operates on a higher level in terms of integrity. I'll just tell you a real life situation. Partner of mine, we had combined that offered because this was like 6 years ago. Reason being because they offered individual disability. A disability is a plan that you have to be in a payroll deducted group for 99% of the insurance companies to get that benefit. Combined happened to be the one of the ones who didn't. Okay, we signed up a bunch of people with Combined. Guess what happened? 2019 into 2020, COVID hit. First of all, they stopped taking applications. We had a bunch of agents we had recruited to come on our team. They wouldn't fill out any applications. people who had filed claims even after they had the policy for a year. If you know that by the insurance companies, especially disability, the first 12 months is what's called the pre-existing condition period. If you file a claim in the first 12 months of that policy, they go back and they double check with your doctor. Dr. Jones, did you treat Miss Smith for XYZ condition? Doctor says yes. Guess what? Boom, not a payable claim. Doctor says no, you paid. But in spite of people not having pre-existing conditions, they filed a claim, turned in all the paperwork, everything. The ones who did get paid, it took them like 6 and 7 months. One lady down there lost her home while waiting on a payment when it should never have had taken nowhere near that amount of time. So, and again, I don't say that the bad's combined. I even know the guy who left one of the insurance companies I know and went became the president. But I know my experience with them. I would not recommend it, only based on what I've seen. I had several clients. Also, they were in Detroit Board of Education. If you happen to be a teacher, you would know that they don't cover you in the summertime. Also, they make you use up all your sick time before they will pay you. Again, my phone blew up because I've been taking care of the board for 25 years. In fact, God bless, I met my wife there. So, another story. And I love her. And so, but again, I'm just stating facts of combined. That's things I know for a fact. I heard the same thing from multiple people, and I've had to straighten out that mess. And yes, I got them corrected. We got them right with the people getting paid now when they have a situation.
Okay, so I want to.
Excuse me 1 second. That person, are you by chance a DPS teacher? Okay.
No.
Right. Sorry.
I want to cover my 90-year-old mother, but I will be paying for it. Please clarify again on the age limit requirements.
Okay. The age limit as far as the life insurance with the long-term care. The guaranteed issue amount up to $80,000 is for everybody 70 years old and under. If you're 71 to 80, there's only like 3 health questions there in the last 24 months having a heart attack, stroke, or kidney failure. If it's that 80 is the maximum issue age. Now, your mother could get the critical illness plan or the cancer policy, because the cancer has no age and the critical illness goes issues over 65. But unfortunately, not the life insurance with the long-term care for 90-year-old.
So he could do the cancer policy for his mother and the critical illness policy for his mother.
Yes.
At age 60. Okay, perfect. I understand the guarantee issue. However, if someone is currently receiving treatment for, say, diabetes, is there a waiting period to receive benefits? You all got great questions.
Yeah. If you have that, that will be just a 30-day, because the cancer and the critical illness both have that you got the effective date of the policy. Like today, if somebody signed up, it's effective February 1. But there's a 30-day waiting period, that initial 30 days. Then after that, so what, February 1, you will wait till March the 2nd. Okay. Then yes, you can be covered.
Wait, let me say that again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I forgot to mention about that. The cancer policy, this is basically with all insurance companies. Okay, so if they sign up in the month of January, the effective date of the policy is the 1st of the month, which in this case will be February 1st. But there's an initial 30-day waiting period even after the effective date. Okay, so that means you technically not file a claim until March the 2nd.
Can't file a claim.
Right, within March the 2nd. That's on the cancer and the critical illness. And that's standard across the industry.
So someone, and I got this call actually last night. Someone, and I just want to say it again so that that I'm clear. This specific person has been diagnosed with cancer already, and they are receiving treatment for cancer. Right? One, I know they can get the cancer policy because there's no questions asked. How long before they can get some relief, file some sort of claim, or get any of those benefits listed in the cancer policy?
That would, again, if they're signed up in the month of January, it's effective February the 1st. All policies are always effective the 1st of the month following your enrollment date. So in the case of now, the policy, if you signed up in January, the policy is effective February the 1st. But there is a 30-day initial waiting period on the cancer and the critical illness before you can file a claim. So in other words, using this current month, January, policies effective February the 1st. That means you cannot file a claim until March the 2nd. It's 30 days plus one.
Yes, okay, all right.
If I can ask one question before this person gets off, I see the name Ron Harris Jr. Is your father the one just passed a couple months ago, about a month or so ago?
Oh,
I was just saying, because if so, I knew your dad. Is he
okay, he
there?
does not, yeah.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay, so if you have diabetes and you are taking medicine, you are covered after 30 days of your policy effective date.
But now on the life insurance with the long-term care, that's covered on the 1st of the month. There's no waiting period there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you also have burial policies as well?
Well, that will be covered. Okay, a burial policy is just another of one of many names for a life insurance policy. The life insurance covers that. So in other words, if you got $30,000, 40,000, 50,000, if you did pass, boom, that's the money that be used for that. And then if you have beneficiaries, that money be passed on to the beneficiary.
Okay, you just touched on this briefly, but maybe go into some detail since I see the question. What about the whole life policy? Is there a waiting period for benefits on that? Just say that answer again.
No, everything's effective on the 1st of the month. If something happens to you, it's covered right after that.
So I get a burial, the whole life with long-term care policy today. It's effective February 1. My benefits are if I needed to pull some money down for
It
long-term
is the
care.
full amount of whatever your policy is. Whether
I'm
if
sorry.
it's you bought a $50,000 policy,
Mhm.
it will be 50,000 as your benefit
Gotcha.
on the 1st of the month.
God, you all have had some great questions. Any other questions before I then take you to the to the uh to the website to show you how you can sign up today? So what you do today takes effect February 1. Thank you, Tiffany, for always being there, who dropped the link in the chat. Tiff, can you do it again so that it's at the bottom? Is there a privacy policy?
All information has a very secure, the enrollment firm has a very secure uh, website. All it is firewall upon firewall. So all of your money, not money, all of your information is extremely secure. The company has been in business over 50 years. They know about security for sure.
Is there a life policy included with the cancer and critical care policies?
No, the cancer policy is to pay you for benefits related to cancer. If your person passes, this is where the life insurance comes into play. Remember, the life insurance with long-term care is a combination of two separate policies: life insurance, whole life, and a long-term care. Those are two separate policies, but we have them combined in one. So you get the best of both worlds in that one policy. And again, if anybody's ever tried to purchase a long-term care, you'll know that they are not cheap. And usually it's like a 2-page questionnaire. Most people cannot qualify because they don't just ask in the last 12 months, have you a heart attack? Maybe you had one 5 years ago. It's like, have you ever? So you 55 years old, and the question is, have you ever? That means going back to day one. If they say, have you ever had a broken left pinky toe, and you broke that toe when you were 2 years old? Okay, no. And it could be a question like that, but some of it's more severe. That could be a knockout question. And guess what? There's 2 pages of questions just like that. They name basically every health complication, health issue known to man. So don't think that, well, I had this, well, they're going to skip that. No, trust me, they will pick it up.
So we have the life insurance with long-term care. That's one policy. The cancer policy is another one. And then the critical illness is the third.
Yes, 3 separate distinct policies. And yes, you can have all 3 of them.
Ronald, get with me about your question about this presentation. Would there be a payout on the initial diagnosis benefit for someone who already has cancer? And I'm assuming, I'm going to say this, correct me if I'm wrong, that you mean they've already had the diagnosis and currently being treated for cancer.
I'm gonna say yes, but that's one to be on the set. I would have to call Allstate just to verify back.
So I already have it. Okay, so she
Yeah, as
said,
far as it pays for the benefits, but I couldn't see why they would not. But I would have to talk back to Allstate just to ask that for sure.
and we're specifically talking about the
The
initial
initial diagnosis
ten
benefit, right?
thousand dollars, the initial diagnosis.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's one.
Um, can the person who put that comment in, actually, I'll email that out to everybody, but I want to specifically make sure that that person that put the comment in there, can you direct message me in the chat and give me your email address, and I'll make sure that you get that answer. Ron, can you do the same about your question for the presentation? Drop your email in there and I'll make sure we connect on that. Great question. Any other questions? Because I want to show you how you can sign up today.
Oh,
Then we can hang out if anybody else has any other questions, but I want to be respectful of people's time. It's now 12:07. So let me share my screen and show
also,
you.
Crystal, one more
Oh,
thing too.
yeah.
On the screen for those, we encourage you to go to the website. There is a brochure for each one of the products. Also, there is a tutorial video, which gives you a short 1 minute and 30-second explanation of the product, what it does, what it's designated for, and how it works. So that, we don't expect them to just blindly go in and just click, 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 click. No, we want to make sure that you're educated as well.
Uh, this is actually a really great question. If you have policies with Allstate, is there a multi-policy discount?
No, the insurance company said this is not. We ain't bundling, okay? No bundle. Sorry, we don't make the rules on that one. But great question. You never know.
Yeah, that was
Have
a great
not because you
question.
ask not. Okay.
And Deborah asked about the AARP discount. No.
Or AAA. Sorry.
So what you want to do now is, and again, Tiffany dropped, thank you, Tiffany, drop that link in the chat.
Can you bring the page down a
AmazingWomanNetwork.com.
little bit, Crystal, so they can see the tab up top? There it is. And you show them.
Yeah, so AmazingWomanNetwork.com / insurance will take you straight to this page, right? And so Gerald was speaking about being able to go in and sign up automatically. Well, that's next week. So we haven't flipped the screen over to be able to do that yet because we're doing some testing on the back end to make sure that that is seamless. Because Joe, tell them why. Because there's three people that have to talk to one another in that process: Piedmont, TBX.
And the insurance carrier is Allstate. You have Allstate as the insurance carrier, TBX is the enrollment firm, and Piedmont is the third-party administrator who processes the deductions.
Right. So we're making sure all of that is working seamlessly on the back end because you know how technology is. Does not prevent you from doing and getting your policy started today. So you can come to this website and you can click here. Well, let's go down first. You can watch any of these videos, which will just give you more information. I mean, Gerald did an awesome job of the deep dive into some of these, but you can, again, go watch any of these to get more information or to just get further confirmation of the knowledge that you got here today. Then if you click here, now you can enroll, but you're gonna talk to a benefit specialist. And then you click the scheduling link, it's gonna take you to schedule your appointment, right? And so you can see you can schedule an appointment for the 27th or any day next week. Take your time slot, and then you can schedule that enrollment specialist will give you a call at that time, walk you through that process with that same information, name, date of birth, all those things that Gerald talked about. And then they will also walk you through that process for payment. And then come February 1st, your policy is in effect. Any questions on that or any other questions? Again, Tiff has been so great to drop that link. Gerald, can you oh, you know what? She can't do it anyway. Yes, Tanya, again. And then again, Tiff has dropped the link to that page in the chat. So you can go grab that and do what you need to do. Again, I just want to be respectful for people's time. If anyone needs to drop off at this time, thank you so much for joining us. You also can reach out to either of us and answer. Gerald, can you put your information in the chat, email address in the chat as well? And if you have any other questions, you can stay on and we can get those questions answered for you. For anyone that needs to drop off, thank you so much. Thanks, Diane. I hope you got a lot from this, and I hope you started thinking about other people in your lives that you know need these policies as well. Yes. Quick summary of the family plan. So, Gerald, on that critical illness or that cancer policy, if I want to put my child on there, can you just do that summary again, please?
Child is free up until children 25 and under are free and covered up until age 26 on the critical illness, as well as the cancer.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate you for coming in. Great information for a Saturday. Thank you, Gerald, so much for not only going to bat and fighting for this, but thank you for sharing it with all of us. And Miss Sheila Hughes, I can't thank you enough for the connection on this. So,
and thank you.
oh, absolutely. This is truly something amazing, and we can't, we've been signing people up since what was it, November?
Yeah, November.
And have had nothing but great,
And the one major thing I just want to close and just reiterate for those, we said a whole lot, but in a nutshell, our mission is to save people from potential financial ruin and also help you maintain the quality of life you have, and certainly make sure that hopefully nobody's life is shortened because they have one of these debilitating diseases and they don't have the resources to be able to afford the coverage. Again, in spite of having health insurance. Remember, it's a great tool. It's great that you have health insurance, but remember, in 2023, we had 2 million people file for bankruptcy. 70% of those, 1.4 million, was for medical bills, and 75% of those people had full-time, year-round health insurance. So health insurance is not the end-all, the safeguard totally to prevent you from financial ruin. You got to have some sort of ancillary vehicle to help you. And like I said, I usually have talked to a room of people, and I'll ask how many people in here got $50,000 to $100,000 sitting aside in the corner, some bank or wherever, that if you need it, that is solely there for a medical emergency. The answer is usually 1% or less. And if not, then boom, this is the answer to that solution for you.
Thank you so much again, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We've got our contact information in the chat. Grab it if you need to talk to us. You also have the link that you can use to go get your coverage today. Yeah, Gerald and I will stick around for a few more minutes just in case anyone else wants to hang out with some other questions. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you for your time.
Gerald, and thank you, Crystal.
Tiff asked a question.